Was there something that you learned with Impossible Worlds that you didn't know before?
Oh my God, there were so many things I learned. That's the part of the joy of doing it. I wrote it with Brannon Braga, and together we discovered a global underground network, which is the collaboration of four kingdoms of life by which they exchange nourishment, empathy, and information. And that's just one thing of, I think, the countless things that I learned in the process of writing the show.
That sounds fascinating. Now, your daughter Sasha is a live actor in this. Was this the first time you worked together?
It's a good question. We've done some things, like print things together.
We've done some things together, but this was the first time that I was directing, and Sasha was acting, and of course, she's playing her own grandmother.
Yes.
And
that's fascinating. Now, did you do a lot of research? Did you grow up with your grandmother?
She died like 9 months before I was born, and my middle name is for her. And I felt very connected to her because when I was a child, the way I would laugh or my mannerisms, everyone would be like, whoa, that's really eerie. But my parents also said to me, you know, there's a secret code in your blood, and your ancestors who you may never meet, whose names you might not even know, live on in you. And I felt really connected to her through that. And I'm actually wearing a ring that belonged to her. And I spent a lot of time sort of holding the ring, thinking about her leading up to these two little scenes.
That's beautiful. I think it makes it even more meaningful. How is it a series like Cosmos Possible Worlds important for our country and our world?
wow, right over the center plate. I mean, really, thank you. In my humble opinion, what we have to do now is to begin to take science to heart, what the scientists are telling us. Their record of prediction and prophecy is really unrivaled in human experience, and they warned us about the challenges that we face for 60 and 70 years. And here we are. And because science is so compartmentalized and made to be so separate from our inner life, we haven't been able to act the way we should. Every one of us is descended from people who had their backs to the walls countless times. They endured challenges and hardships that we can't even imagine. But because they did, we're here tonight. That's the only reason. We can do what they did, and it's our turn. And so I hope people will see Cosmos and realize how powerful they are and understand this knowledge, which can be conveyed without torturing you or boring you to death. It's part of, these are the stories of our ancestors. These are the dreams of the future that we can still have if we get our act together. That's the dream of Cosmos. It was 40 years ago with the first season with Carl, and it remains, it's a flame that keeps burning. But I often have this mental kind of, inevitable dialogue in my brain because we spent 20 years together. So even though I don't think that he's really talking to me, I feel like, I can talk to him. And I hope he would be happy about Cosmos. But I don't know exactly how he'd feel. I would never speak for him. But I do know one thing. It would be so hard for me to tell him how the depths to which we have descended in the years since his death. And part of me, and that's my bias, is I think that if he were still alive, maybe we'd be in better shape.
Thank you so much, Ann. Cosmos. What's different in your approach to a series like Cosmos?
things are working out?
Well, first of all, I can't make anything up, and that's probably the biggest difference. But the two are very related to one another in that they're both shows that have a ship. They're both about exploration, and they're both very optimistic and humanistic about what we're capable of as a species and the possible future we can have. And so in that way, they're very similar. But writing the shows, not so similar, because with a Star Trek script, you're making stuff up. On Cosmos, it's nature-based, it's science-based. Everything is real. Of course, it turns out, I think Cosmos is much more interesting and weird and entertaining than anything I was able to think up on Star Trek.
Now, both strike me as optimistic and hopeful for the future. Is that something that draws you to those projects?
Oh, I think I think movies and TV could use more optimistic storytelling. You know, I work on another show called The Orville, which is very similar to Star Trek. And it's missing. It's missing. There's a lot of dystopia and doom and gloom and misery. And I think it's important to show, like on Cosmos, that we can have a future. And here's how.
I think that's great. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.